I definitely understand the hype with this, but this book has been so twisty and crazy. Thank you so much to Every Plate for sponsoring today's video. Hey, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Gabby and welcome to the final vlog of Winterween. If you missed the first two Winterween vlogs that I've posted, I will have those linked down below, but this vlog is going to include the final 3 days of the readathon, days 5, 6, and 7. And if you don't know what Winterween is, I will also have that announcement video linked down below. But Winterween is a spooky readathon that I host annually in the month of January. The whole goal of this readathon is to bring the spooky vibes of Halloween into the other times of the year. And before jumping into day 5 of Winterween, I just wanted to take a second to thank today's video sponsor, which is Every Plate. I know that I'm exhausted of having those nights where I'm just staring at the fridge wondering what am I gonna do for dinner, because takeout's expensive, groceries go bad so fast, and cooking from scratch takes forever. And that's why Every Plate is such a game changer. You get the same quality ingredients, the same delicious meals for a fraction of the price. I love that you can get these meals delivered right to your door, and in your box you'll find pre-proportioned fresh ingredients and recipe cards so simple that even a 10-year-old could follow them. I think that's one of my favorite things about Every Plate is the fact that they include the recipe cards and they have the photos and the directions. It leaves little room for error, and for somebody like me that's not the most confident person in the kitchen, I think these recipe cards are so helpful. And I love that they have 35 plus recipes to try every week, from globally inspired dishes to the classics that even your kids will eat. I think something that makes Every Plate so great is the fact that you have zero waste after you cook the dinner, because I feel like one of my biggest issues when I'm trying to cook by myself is that I always have something left over that ends up going to waste. But I love that with these meals, everything is perfectly portioned out so that I'm not wasting any food. I recently made these cheesy Southwest beef tacodillas the other night that I thought were so fantastic. These packed an incredible amount of flavor for such a simple recipe. And listen, this deal is ridiculous. You can use my code gabbyreads for $2.99 per meal on your first box, plus free steak for a month. Offer varies by plan, and you'll receive one free 10-ounce serving per box for 4 weeks with an active subscription. What an amazing deal! I'm a huge fan of steak, so I think you should take advantage. Definitely be sure to check out that link down in my description, and thank you so much to Every Plate for sponsoring today's video. And now, jumping into day 5 of Winterween. If you were wondering, last night I did end up staying up super late so that I could finish reading The Midnight Knock by John Fram. And unfortunately, I feel like the further that I got into this book, the more that I didn't like it, because I was just getting more and more confused. And I also feel like this book just went on for way too long. By the end of the story, my head was spinning so much that I was like, I don't even know if I fully had a grasp on like what I just read. I feel like this was John Fram trying to do something similar to like Blake Crouch, but it just really didn't work for me in the same way. And you know, maybe it is just me, like maybe I'm just too stupid to understand this book. Like I definitely feel like this is one of those books that will make you feel stupid, but I just really did not have a fun time with this. I'm actually debating whether I want to give this like 3 stars or maybe even like 2.5, which I'm leaning more towards like 2.5, just because I don't think I enjoyed this one as much as the other books that I've been giving 3 stars recently. So that is such a bummer, because I do think this book had so much potential and had a really unique and interesting premise. But anyway, it is now the morning of day 5. I think this morning I would like to go down to one of my local coffee shops and do some reading. I think I'm in the mood for a thriller today, but I'm not exactly sure what book I want to read yet. So I'm gonna figure that out, and let's get started on day 5 of Winterween.
All I'm keeping track of is the weather, and there's no wind, no sun, nothing. 80 days and I'm not feeling better, but a sweet relief is finding me. There's no love under the portrait. Ain't got no loyalties, no one to please. I just got that
It's almost 2 o'clock in the afternoon at this point, and I just left a coffee shop. It's one of my favorite places to go, and it was so crowded in there this morning. But I've been in such a thriller mood recently, so I decided to completely abandon the TBR that I had for Winterween, and instead I decided to read Love Mom today. This is a thriller that I've been hearing really great things about recently. I think on Goodreads this book has a 4.2 out of 5 average, which is really insanely high, and it also has over like 150,000 ratings already. I think this one first published in 2024 or 2025. actually picked up this book last week from my library because every now and then my library sells used books and it was only $2 there. So I had to snatch it up, especially because this one has like the really pretty and cool sprayed edges. But anyway, while I was sitting in that coffee shop this morning, I literally read 240 pages. I think something that I really love about reading thrillers is like how easy it is to get sucked into the story. This one did take me a minute to get invested in the story though, because for the first like 100 to like 150 pages, I was like, I mean, it's good, like I'm engaged and I can't wait to see what happens. But it wasn't until I hit part 2 of this book that I was like, wait, bitch, what? And now that I'm in part 2 of the book, I'm enjoying it so much more. Like this book has been so twisty and so surprising. I'm like, bitch, what do you mean? So in this story, we're following this protagonist named Mackenzie Casper, and she is currently a student, but she's really well known for her mother. Her mother was this woman named Lizzie, and she actually wrote books under a pen name, but her mother is quite famous for her books, and she writes these like really dark, twisted thrillers. In the very first chapter of this book, you're actually reading about her mother's memorial service because her mother just passed away. It says Evie Renge, which was the pen name that she used to write with, was only 43. She died tragically at the peak of her career. Was it an accident or ... And people are starting to speculate, wondering if this could have really been an accident or if something more sinister happened. And then it says the day of the memorial service, Mackenzie gets a mysterious envelope signed from your #1 fan, XOXO. And it seems like these letters that she's receiving are letters from her own mom's diary. She's really confused because these letters do actually seem like they're coming from her mother, and all of them are signed "Wanna know a secret? Love, Mom." She ends up cross-referencing a lot of her mother's handwriting with these letters, and it turns out that it is her mother's handwriting. And then after the first letter comes another letter and then another letter, and she's trying to figure out like who's sending her these letters and like what kind of secrets was her mom keeping from her when she was alive. You know, I do tend to love thrillers or any books in general that follow writers, and so I am really loving the fact that her mother was this like famous writer. I love getting to hear about her journey to success with her thriller books, but then I also love that we're following from the point of view of her daughter, you know, this girl Mackenzie, and kind of like learning about how their relationship was really complicated because she always felt like she was kind of like living in the shadow of her mom. And I feel like their relationship in general is being explored very well because they actually had a really complicated mother-daughter relationship. But this book has been so twisty and crazy. I thought it was going to be really easy to predict what was going on, and I do still have a few different predictions, so like we'll see if I end up being right about anything. I mean, you know, the book is good when like I was wanting to update you sooner, but when I was sitting in that cafe, once I got past 100 pages in, I kept telling myself, okay, one more chapter, and then I'll leave. Okay, one more. And I just couldn't leave because I was so sucked into the story. I ended up paying an extra hour for parking just so I could continue reading in that coffee shop. I feel like that's a really good sign, you know, when it comes to a thriller. So I have about 120 pages left, and I'm definitely going to try to finish it up this afternoon. I actually just pulled up at Village Books, one of my favorite bookstores in downtown Fairhaven area, because the coffee shop I was just at was like down the road from here, and I was like, I might as well stop in the bookstore, right? And this is the bookstore that I talk about from time to time because they have an ARC's bookshelf on the downstairs floor. So I'm gonna go take a peek at the ARC's bookshelf, see what I can find. Hello, I have made it back home. It is just after 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I didn't end up getting anything at the bookstore. I was tempted on a few things, but I decided to put them on hold at my library instead of buying them. But anyway, I wanted to update you because I just finished reading Love, Mom, and like, wow, this one was crazy. I definitely understand the hype with this, and I feel like this is one of those thrillers that just keeps packing on the plot twists. I really liked this one. I think I'm probably gonna give it 4 stars because I don't think it was the perfect thriller for me. I do think it started a little bit slow, but I was also wrong about one of my predictions. Like, I thought that I knew what was going on, and I couldn't be more happy about that. And I think the ending of this book was especially good. There were a few things that happened in the plot that I do think you're gonna have to like suspend your disbelief on, or I feel like there were some moments where I was like, oh, well, that's convenient. But for the most part, this was a really twisty and impressive thriller. This is the first thing that I've ever read from this author. I was seeing a lot of people on Goodreads say that this author reminds them of Frida McFadden, I guess just in terms of like style. And I guess I can definitely see the comparison, but in my opinion, I had a lot more fun with this book than I typically do with the Frida McFadden, because usually in a Frida McFadden book, I tend to think that the writing is just pretty bad in general, but the writing in this one actually really surprised me. Like, I thought the writing was really good. I thought the characters were really good and really fleshed out, especially our main character, Mackenzie. I just felt a lot for her while I was reading this one. I think this one does fall into a lot of thriller tropes that I usually do enjoy. Like, I love the idea of somebody getting anonymous letters and trying to figure out who could be sending them, and it was really nice that at the very end of this book, there were so many twists, which in my opinion, I feel like that makes for like the best kind of thriller recommendation, because it increases your chances of being surprised by something in the book. So yeah, how surprising for me to enjoy this book. I don't know why when I picked this book up, I wasn't really expecting much, just because thrillers in general just haven't really been impressing me very much lately. So it's actually just really nice and refreshing when I can find something new like this that I really enjoy from an author that I've never read from before. I don't really have too much going on tonight. I think I have some food here at the house that I can make for dinner, and then I'm probably gonna watch more Supernatural tonight with my mom. We only have 3 episodes left of season 3, so like we'll see if we can finish season 3 tonight. That would be crazy.
Okay, I swear the next person who has to die for Karina. Yeah, completely rotten, I understand it.
Morning and welcome to day 6 of Winterween. This morning I had a really great start to my day because I ended up going to one of my local coffee spots because they let me know that I had a free birthday drink. Dude, this week has been so great, you know, like leading up to my birthday, because a lot of my local favorite coffee places offer a free birthday drink. So I've been taking advantage of that at every single place. And so I got my coffee this morning and it's so good. And then last night, me and my mom, we did end up finishing season 3 of Supernatural, and then we also watched the first episode of season 4 because that season 3 finale, like, bitch, what the fuck? They left it off on such a big cliffhanger that I was like, no, actually, like, we need to see what the fuck is going on in season 4. And so we watched the first episode of season 4. First episode of season 4 was wild. And I think in that first episode of season 4, I just met what will be one of like the biggest characters on this show. So I am very intrigued, but I'm also kind of scared for like the direction of this show. I mean, anytime I hear somebody talk about Supernatural, everybody always says the first 3 seasons are the best seasons. So I'm kind of worried that like the best seasons of the show might be behind me at this point. But I am really excited to watch season 4, and I can't wait to see where the show takes me. I've also been getting a lot of comments asking if I'm Team Sam or Team Dean, and while I do really love both brothers and both of their characters, I think at this point I'm still Team Sam. I'm so sorry, I don't know if that's like an unpopular opinion because I know everybody really seems to love Dean, and I do love Dean's character, but like Sam just like completely stole my heart, and I think it's mostly because of how much I love Jared Padalecki. You know, like I knew him from Gilmore Girls. I just really adore Sam with my whole heart, so I mean at this point I'm still Team Sam. I don't know if that's gonna change at any point throughout the series. I'm open-minded, but god, early 2000s Jared Padalecki was something else, okay? They don't make him like him anymore. Anyway, I wanted to update you because this morning I have started reading The Buffalo Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones. I actually just got the audiobook hold from my library, checked out last night, and I was like, oh my god, perfect, because I wasn't sure what I was wanting to read today. You know, I do think around day 6 of the readathon, like this is typically when I start to feel like I'm hitting a wall and feeling a little bit overwhelmed by all of the books and the editing and staying on top of it all. And I do think I'm definitely starting to feel that because I'm about 90 pages into this book and I'm getting the strongest urge, like I want to DNF this. Like, I don't know if this is the book for me. You know, I really wanted to give this one a shot because it's a book about vampires, and I feel like that's something that I'm needing to read this week is a book about vampires because I ended up DNFing the last book that I tried to read that was about vampires. And you know, Stephen Graham Jones in the past, he has written 5-star books for me in the past. Night of the Mannequins is one that I was absolutely obsessed with, and then same with Mapping the Interior. But the more that I'm reading from Stephen Graham Jones, the more that I'm coming to the realization that I love Stephen Graham Jones when it comes to like short stories, but when it comes to his full-length novels like this, like I really just don't think he's the author for me. I mean, I really was not a big fan of like I Was a Teenage Slasher and like My Heart is a Chainsaw and like some of his most popular full-length novels I really didn't care for. And this is one that I was definitely taking a risk with because this one is kind of like this historical fiction that's about vampires because most of the stories taking place in 1912. And I feel like just in general, historical horror is something that I really struggle with because I'm not the biggest like historical fan. Like I feel like sometimes these kinds of books can really really tend to bore me, and sadly, only 90 pages in, I am feeling so bored by this story. You know, I was actually really intrigued in like the first chapter because I like how the first chapter was taking place in the present day timeline, and it's about this woman who's like discovering the diary of this man who was living in 1912. So I did like how at the beginning of the story, we were getting some back and forth with the timelines in the present day and then in the past, but I feel like the pacing at the start of this book is absolutely dragging for me. Like, what do you mean? I am listening to this one on audio, and the last chapter that I just read was over an hour long on the audiobook. Like, it was like 35 pages long for one chapter. I don't know why I have such a problem with long chapters, but I really do. I'm afraid of the commitment. I am just really struggling to get invested in this story. I've seen from a lot of reviewers on Goodreads, like even people who have rated this book pretty high, like they do say that it's a very slow start. And so maybe it does get better like later on in the book, but I'm just really not feeling this one today. Like maybe this is one that I'll come back to eventually, but like during this readathon, I really just want to read books that are going to pull me in immediately, especially since we're already on day 6 of this readathon. So I think I'm going to set this one aside for now. Gosh, I don't know what I want to read next. I feel like I need to take some time this afternoon to try and figure out what I'm in the mood for. I mean, it's only 12:30 in the afternoon right now, so I think I have plenty of time to still read something today, or at least start something today that I can finish tomorrow. So I will let you know once I figure something out. Hello, it is just after 4 o'clock in the afternoon and I have some reading updates. I spent most of my afternoon getting a head start on editing this vlog, and then I also spent some time filming and editing a TikTok where I was talking about my thoughts on Supernatural Season 3. So I will have that TikTok linked down below if you wanted to hear some of my more spoilery thoughts about the season. And then because I've completely abandoned my TBR for Winterween, I decided to pick up Midnight Timetable by Bora Chung. This is one that I've been so curious to read for a while because this one is actually a collection of short horror stories. And you know, Bora Chung is the same author as Cursed Bunny, which is like one of my favorite short story collections of all time. And I loved Cursed Bunny. Like that one was a 5 out of 5 for me. So I've been highly anticipating this one. And this one was only 189 pages. So I was easily able to finish it just in the afternoon. I actually ended up downloading the audiobook on Libro because I was planning to take a walk to the library and like listen to this book on my walk. And then as soon as I'm getting ready to go, I look out the window and it's raining. And I was like, what? I thought it wasn't supposed to rain today. So I'm a little bit irritated that I didn't get to go on my walk, but I did end up listening to the entirety of Midnight Timetable on audio this afternoon. And I have a lot of mixed thoughts on this. Like this is not exactly what I was expecting it to be. This one is actually a collection of 7 short stories. And then it is really interesting because we do get an afterword from the author, kind of talking about some of the inspiration for a lot of these different stories, which I did think was something really cool to include in this book. I ended up taking some notes about each one of the stories in my cute little notebook, which I loved doing, by the way. Like I never actually take notes in like a physical notebook anymore, so this has been really fun for me to do. But what I did like about this book is that all 7 of the stories are kind of like interconnected ghost stories in this, and all of them take place at this very mysterious institute. I feel like this is a very specific style of horror because it's not exactly like creepy, like in your face kind of horror. It's more like literary horror and kind of talking about the horrors of what it's like to be working as a woman and as a queer person. I feel like there's a lot of commentary in this book about what it's like to be queer and what it's like to be unaccepted, especially like in a workspace. This book was kind of weird to me in the same way that the TV show Severance is kind of weird, but I don't think I enjoyed this book as much as I do enjoy the show Severance because some of these stories just felt very bizarre and like very surreal, almost in a way where I was like, what am I reading right now? But then also like a lot of these stories were really sad and they dealt with some very serious topics like violence against women. And then also there was a lot of violence against animals in this as well, like specifically cats. That was kind of hard to stomach. There were also like a lot of really weird scenes with sheep in a lot of these stories. All of the scenes with the sheep were very odd. I think the best thing about this book was a lot of the different social commentary that this author was trying to have, but I also didn't really feel that passionate about any of these stories. I mean, actually, I gave all of them 3 stars, except for 2 of them I gave 2 stars. The second story, Handkerchief, I ended up giving that one 2 stars. I mean, the concept was interesting for that one, but it just felt like it was going on a little bit too long. I mean, that second story is only about like 35, maybe like 40 pages in this, but it just felt like it was going on and on forever. And then I also ended up giving 2 stars to the short story that's called Bluebird. And that one ended up being 2 stars for me because that one is more of like a historical drama. It just isn't really my taste, I guess, when it comes to like horror books or short fiction. I don't know. I just have mixed feelings about this because I can see what the author was trying to do. I just don't know if I love the execution of the stories themselves. Because after finishing all of the stories, I think I expected to like feel more feelings about it, but I was just like, yeah, I mean, okay. I think I liked reading the afterword about why this author was inspired to write these stories more than I even enjoyed the stories themselves. And that really does suck, you know, because I do think this author is such a talented and gifted writer. I mean, I loved Cursed Bunny so much, and that one definitely had some weird stories too. But there was just something about these stories that just didn't really pull me in the same way that Cursed Bunny did. So that is unfortunate, but I am happy to complete another book for this readathon. Oh my gosh, I've done 6 books in 6 days, which feels like a lot. And I also had some DNFs within those days. So I feel like I've been picking up so many books. I don't have any crazy plans for the rest of the night. I'm just gonna shower. I need to wash my hair. I'm probably gonna make some dinner here at the house and then maybe watch more of season 4 of Supernatural tonight with my mom. And then tomorrow is the last day of the readathon already. And tomorrow I'm gonna be doing some reading sprints on my Patreon starting at 12. So I don't know what I'm gonna be reading on sprints tomorrow. I feel like I have to make a choice because it's gonna be the final book that I read for Winterween. So hopefully it'll be a good one. I'll see you in the morning. Hello and welcome to day 7 of Winterween. We have made it to the final day, can you believe? And last night I ended up having such a great night with my mom because we watched a few episodes of season 4 of Supernatural, and like, holy shit, season 4 has been really good so far. I don't know why I was thinking that I wasn't gonna like season 4 as much as some of these other seasons, but so far I am so impressed by season 4. Episode 3 of season 4, that's called In the Beginning, that has to be like one of my favorite episodes of the entire show so far. Like, I was almost gonna cry for like the entire episode. And then last night I also watched the first 3 episodes of the season of the US Traders. The Traders has been so fun this season, and they kind of like introduced a new twist in the game this season that I do really like. The Traders is a show on Peacock, and it's one of my favorite like reality game show type of shows. It's just so fun and so twisty, and this season has already been really good. Anyway, I decided that for the final day of Winterween, I really wanted to read another thriller because I've just been in such a thriller mood this week. I can't explain it. It's been a really long time actually since I've been in a thriller mood like this, so I thought I would take full advantage of this mood that I'm in and read some thrillers. I was trying to figure out last night what thriller I would even want to read today, and I came across this video from Tina over from Tina's Books. I will have her channel linked down below, but she posted a video talking about the best thrillers that she read in the year of 2025, and there was this thriller in her video that I've never heard of before, and it's called You'll Never Know by Caleb Stevens. And this one really captured my attention with the way that she was talking about it, and it also has really high average ratings on Goodreads as well. I think this one has like a 4.1 out of 5. I feel like it's pretty rare to find any thrillers these days that have like over a 4 average on Goodreads. And so I was able to check out the ebook of this book from my library. And then I was looking on Libro because I was thinking to myself like, oh, maybe I'll download the audiobook so I can listen along to it today. And I realized I already had the audiobook available on my Libro. I don't know if this was available as like an ALC last year and I downloaded it and then completely forgot about it, but I was so excited that I already have access to the audiobook. So I was like, this is perfect. So I started reading it this morning. I'm only on chapter 11 and I'm only about like 18% of the way through it. I've barely gotten into it, but already this book has been so crazy and so fast paced. This is definitely the kind of thriller where like chapter 1, it kicks off with a bang and the pacing has just been really crazy. Like, it's been so action packed already. And right at the start of this book, we're following this guy named Grant, and he has this wife named Avery. They're going on this hike together, and she tells him on the hike that she's pregnant. And then a few minutes later, while they're still on this hike, this creepy van pulls up and they end up abducting his wife. They take her to this cabin. They tell him not to get the police involved, and they give him all these different instructions on like how to get back to the cabin and what they want. Literally, they abduct her in the first chapter of this book. Like, it was already so intense. And now at chapter 11, I'm already into like part 2 of the book. But like, so much has happened already, and there was already a twist at the end of part 1 that I was like, whoa, what? Like, that changes everything. So I am just so excited that it feels like this book is going to be an absolute thrill ride. In a lot of the reviews that I see people talking about this book, a lot of the reviews say that this book is just non-stop action-packed suspense. And so far, I can definitely see that. I'm just going to continue with this one and hope to finish it today. I'm currently doing some reading sprints on my Patreon, and hopefully we end this readathon with a really good thriller. Oh my god. Okay, the first thing I see in chapter 11 is this comment about the Taylor Swift concert is kicking off at noon. They're going to a Taylor Swift concert, and I'm like, what do you mean kicking off at noon? Like, I'm sorry, what Taylor Swift concert ever has kicked off at noon? Like, in the middle of the day? Like, what do you mean, sir? I don't know, might have to dock a star for being pretty unrealistic. Okay, hello, it's been many hours. It's almost 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I was able to take a walk earlier because it's actually so nice outside today. It's like 50 degrees. It's very warm for January, so not exactly the winterween weather that I was hoping for, but it was really nice to go outside today. And I needed to update you because I just finished reading You'll Never Know, and like, holy shit, that was crazy. I feel like You'll Never Know is like the perfect title for this book because I think you'll never know where the story's going. I definitely agree with a lot of the reviewers who were saying that this book is kind of similar to The Chain by Adrian McKinty, just in terms of like somebody getting abducted and then they have to go through all these different obstacles and like hear all these riddles in order to like track them down and figure out where they went. But I feel like this book was really shocking for me because there were so many twists like throughout the book. It wasn't just like one big reveal at the end or anything like that. Like, it was constant twists and turns throughout the whole story. And I feel like this was a really well crafted and really interesting thriller. I don't know if it was like the perfect book for me because I'm probably going to give this one more around like a 4-star, maybe even like a 4.5 star. I don't think it was my perfect 5-star read, but I enjoyed this so much more than I was expecting to. I mean, as you saw, when I was on my walk, I reached the end of like, I think it was like part 2 of the book, and there was a major thing that like pulled the rug out from under me basically, and I was like, bitch, what? And I love when that happens, you know, like I'm always chasing that feeling. Whenever I'm reading thrillers, like I want to be surprised. And I feel like if there's one thing this book did so well, it was that it was very surprising. There were so many little unexpected things in the plot that I just really, really enjoyed. I think the best thing is to jump into this book knowing as little as possible. Like that description that I gave you at the start of this book about like a man on a hike with his wife and then she gets abducted, that is like all that you need to know going into this, because from that point, shit just gets really crazy and goes off the rails in the best way. I also ended up taking a bunch of notes in my little notebook as I was reading this book today, and I'm glad that I did, because I do think this is the type of thriller where you're gonna want to like keep track of different characters and like different things that are happening. Like, wow, I'm so excited to be finishing Winterween with another thriller that I really enjoyed. You know, after reading Love, Mom, you know, earlier this week, and now with reading this one, like I read 2 new thrillers that I would give really high ratings to, and I feel like that hasn't happened for me in a long time. So I'm so grateful that Winterween this week was really like pushing me to like get back into thrillers and kind of like falling in love with thrillers all over again. That is a wrap on this year's Winterween vlogs. I hope that you've enjoyed the Winterween vlogs this year because I had a lot of fun making these this week. And you know, I realized after looking through the prompts that even though I technically DNF'd 2 different vampire books, I never actually completed the prompt of like reading a book about vampires, even though I did try. But then the other one that I completely forgot to do this week was the Reading in the Dark. I feel like that one just completely like slipped my mind, and so I wasn't able to complete all of the reading prompts this week, but I still managed to read 7 books this week. Like I finished 7 books, and then I also had like 2 or maybe 3 DNFs this week. So I do think I was able to read a lot. And then as far as the bingo board goes, I do think I was able to get a bingo, but something that I forgot to do this week that I meant to do was to watch a horror movie at some point this week. But because I've been watching Supernatural almost every single night, I'm like, that's gotta count for something, right? Because it's a spooky show, and I'm so addicted to Supernatural, like I couldn't be expected to like pause Supernatural to watch anything else right now, right? But anyway, thank you so much for watching these Winterween vlogs. It means so much to me. You'll have to let me know if you did participate in Winterween this year. How many books were you able to read? Did you find any new favorites? I'm really looking forward to hosting Summerween again this July because these readathons mean so much to me and they're just so much fun to host. And I really appreciate anybody who took the time to participate this month. It means a lot to me. Thank you so much. I hope that you also had a very successful Winterween, and I'll see you again very soon with another vlog. Bye.